What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. So as you can see from this headline, I'm not sure if this is much of a surprise or if this is just, again, as we've talked about before, one of those cash-ins, right? Where we have a film that's beloved by many, has its own cult following, and now it's time for us to do a remake, not a remake, but a proper sequel. Because this, my understanding is this isn't, when I heard about this isn't supposed to be a remake. It's supposed to be a proper sequel. Now, a sequel to what? Now, if you don't know about the Tremors franchise, which is what we're talking about here, you wouldn't know that just from this headline, but that's the franchise we're talking about. 90s horror franchise gets a major update that could hint at Kevin Bacon's return. So Tremors was I think one of those obscure type horror films that came out in 1990, early 1990. And it was the only one of the franchise that's gotten a theatrical release, and it was received very well in 1990, considering if you haven't seen it and you decide to go watch it, as I've said, when it comes to films like this, they're very much a product of their time. So keep that in mind if you go watch it. It's been 35 years. Now, if you don't know, Tremors then obviously spawned a number of sequels. I think there's been a total in the franchise. I think there are 7 films total in the franchise. And again, the first one was the only one that ever got a theatrical release. And Kevin Bacon was only in the first one. His co-star Fred Ward was in the first 2, and then he didn't return to the franchise after that. And if you don't know, he had passed away in 2022. So I'd imagine if he was still with us, then there might be talks of him returning along with Kevin Bacon. Now, the only actor that's actually been in every single Tremors film is Michael Gross. He in the first film, if you might recall him, he was the one that had the massive amount of firearms and was like a prepper and was very well prepared for this particular incident. So he's the only one that's been in all 7 films, and I would be shocked if they do decide to do another one and try to push for a theatrical release, that he wouldn't somehow. And I don't even know if Michael Gross, if he's still with us. I believe he still is. And if he is, I believe he still is. I believe he is still alive. That I would be shocked if he's not involved in this 8th film in the total franchise. So let's take a look at the article details, see what possibilities are going to be out there for this one, for a potential sequel, potential addition. So after having previously attempted a return to it, Kevin Bacon may finally get to revisit his cult classic 90s horror franchise. The actor, known for Footloose and Mystic River, great film, great crime drama. If you have not seen Mystic River, go watch it today. Great film. Has appeared in several horror movies throughout his career, beginning with a slasher mainstay, Friday the 13th. Yes, he was in Friday the 13th. Wasn't a very long bid, but he was in it. In the 1980 classic, Bacon portrayed Jack Burrell, who Mrs. Voorhees famously murdered by spearing his throat while under a bed. He later starred alongside Kiefer Sutherland and Julia Roberts in Flatliners, which explores a group of medical students undergoing near-death experiences. And then just goes on to talk about, I mean, I'm not going to read this line for line. This isn't the why we're here to talk about this. This just goes on to talk about some of the other horror films that he's been in over the years. And again, hasn't been that many. Now, here we are. The Tremors franchise may be returning. Stampede Entertainment is considering future movies. So these are some of the screenshots from that original film with Kevin Bacon. We scroll through these, as you can see here. There he is again. And this is Michael Gross right here, where my cursor is. He's the one to the right of Kevin Bacon. So he's the one that's been in all the films. We'll keep going here. Yeah, very young Kevin Bacon here. And then again, here's Michael Gross right here. And again, another picture of Kevin Bacon. So, all right. So in 1990, Bacon starred in Tremors, a horror comedy that centered on a remote Nevada town plagued by massive underground creatures known as graboids. Along with Bacon, who portrayed Valentine McKee, the cast included Fred Ward, Michael Gross, Finn Carter, and Reba McEntire. Directed by Ron Underwood, the movie earned over $16 million and currently holds an impressive Rotten Tomatoes score of 88%. Has a massive massive cult following. Following its release, numerous Tremors franchise installments were produced, including a short-lived television series, but Bacon only appeared in the original movie. And I believe that television series, let me see if I can find something on it real quick. Yeah, it was only 13 episodes, and it was in 2003. It was on the previous channel or network Sci-Fi. I don't even know if that's even still around anymore. I haven't had cable or satellite in well over a decade, so have no idea if the Sci-Fi channel is even still around. But that's where that's what that is referring to, where it was premiered at. So it was previously announced that Stampede Entertainment, which writers Brett Maddock and S.S. Wilson are partners of, had recovered the rights to Tremors. Now, in an April update, the company revealed that, quote, "we aren't reading outside ideas," end quote, and that the next movie will go back to Perfection, Nevada, and explore some outlandish ideas for new locations as well. Stampede noted that they won't be okay, so this is good. Stampede noted they won't be remaking the original movie or reworking ideas for their initial Tremors 5 screenplay, but are considering ideas that feature the return of Kevin Bacon as Val, but no promises. So before we get down to the comments below, it's interesting that they're saying this here, their initial Tremors 5 screenplay, because again, unless that's where they're saying their involvement or their story or whatever ended, because after Tremors 5 Bloodlines, so there's Tremors, Tremor 2 Aftershock, Tremors 3 Back to Perfection, Part 4 was called The Legend Begins, then there was Bloodlines, and then unless they're saying after that, because there was two more, and they were recently released. One was in 2018, one was in 2020. The sixth film, I'll call it, is called Tremors: A Cold Day in Hell. And then the last one is Tremors: Shrieker Island. So unless they're just not considering those two at all, meaning they as those involved here, because again, they're only referencing now Tremors 5 screenplay. So go on, the comments go on to say, as was announced at the Santa Fe Tremors Fest in October 2024, the partners in Stampede Entertainment have reclaimed the rights to the original script for Tremors, which I think we reported on that late last year as well. I think we do have a video out there on that, so you might want to go check it out. We've been exploring what this may also allow us to do. So here's the update. First, we aren't reading outside ideas. We are discussing a return to perfection sequel and one or two more outlandish ideas featuring graboids in new settings. Whatever we decide to pitch in Hollywood, it will not be a remake. It will not be a remake of the first movie with a new cast, nor will it be a version of our original script for Tremors 5. Question that is frequently sent to Stampede FAQ. We are considering ideas that feature the return of Kevin Bacon as Val, but no promises. And then this is just the author's take on this little paragraph. It's just their take on it. Now, it seems like if I were to read this a little bit deeper, I'm wondering, it says we are discussing a Return to Perfection sequel. I'm wondering if they're saying they could potentially be bypassing parts 2 through 6 or 7, and then just doing a sequel off the first one. So we have Tremors, and then they're just doing now a sequel off that one, like 35 some odd years, or 30 some odd years later. If they were to do it this year, it'd be 35. So I'm wondering if they're just going to say, hey, we're going to forget everything that happened between 2 and 7, and then we're just going to do a direct sequel. Hopefully Kevin Bacon can come back, and that's where the story will pick up. Otherwise, you had to figure out how would Kevin Bacon, if they did a sequel off of the last film, the 7th film, or even off the 5th film, how would they explain Kevin Bacon either not knowing everything that had transpired, because I'm sure he would have known because those other characters knew Kevin Bacon, and they probably would have told him about what was happening. And then the question then would beg is, why did Kevin Bacon's character not show up to help? So I think they're probably just going to do they'll have Tremors, and this will be an offshoot of that as a sequel. So I would be surprised if this doesn't happen. And the reason I say that is because now that the rights are back in their hands and they can move forward with what they want to do, and if there's talks to get Kevin Bacon coming back to do it, It's going to be one of those situations where, oh, and I've said this before, you know, look at the gap between the Top Gun films and some of the other things that have happened in Hollywood as far as these long-standing sequels that are just now coming about. I mean, we've even talked recently about Goonies. They're now finally getting a sequel. Gremlins is finally getting its third film in that franchise after so many years. I think Hollywood now is pretty much saying that the floodgates are going to be almost fully open to say, doesn't matter when the original film was, if it was a hit, we're going back to it. We're going to make a sequel or a prequel, and that's just how it's going to be for a while. So, yeah, that's going to do it for this news update. I can't say I'm overly excited for this. I think the franchise, it's been 5 years since the last one. I'm okay with this franchise not continuing. I'm okay with just the ones we have. They're fine the way they are, especially the first film. Even the second film wasn't all that bad, but the first film is obviously just one of those classics where I don't think you really need to add to it. But what do I know? I'm just the little guy with the microphone, just giving my 2 cents on it. But Hollywood more than likely will end up doing something like this. We'll probably get an announcement either next year or probably mid next year. I wouldn't be surprised for a 2027, 2028 release date, somewhere around there for this Tremors sequel. So drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Would you be interested in a Tremors sequel, bringing back Kevin Bacon to play in his one of his early iconic roles? And if you haven't done so already, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Otherwise, we'll see you at the next one. Later.